In this video, I want to introduce you to the concept of a negative number. And here I've drawn just a regular number line. So we know, we could say that these are counting up by ones. So this would be 0, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on and so forth. There's a line here. This would continue on for an infinite amount of numbers. But we want to ask ourselves a question. What happens when you go to the left of a number line, right? So when you go to the left of the number line, what this is actually called is you're going to be dealing with a negative number. So this would be -1. And you already know the idea of a positive number, right? You've just always called them numbers, right? These are just numbers. But when we're dealing with negative numbers, we're going to refer to numbers without a negative sign as positive numbers. So you can imagine that 1 would tell us that the quantity is 1 above 0, and -1 would tell us that something is 1 below 0. So we could say this is -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, and then -8. So for any positive number, any number, there is a corresponding number of the opposite sign or opposite value, right? So we have, we could say 18, there is -18, or 17 or 77.5, there's going to be a -77.5. And remember that this is telling us how much something is above 0. And this, sorry, I meant to say 18 here. And this is telling us how far something is below 0. So these are just opposite numbers, Positive tell us how much something is above 0, and negative tell us how much something is below 0. And to help you conceptualize negative numbers, here I've attempted to draw a thermometer in Fahrenheit. So you may be actually familiar with negative numbers because of thermometers if you live in, more of a colder place. So I just wanted to help you understand that all negative numbers are saying, right, they're just meaning the opposite direction from the positive counterpart, right? So here we have 0 degrees right here. This is 0 degrees. And then we have 20 degrees, meaning it's going to be 20 degrees above 0. But if you look down here an equal distance away, it is -20, meaning it is 20 in the opposite direction, or 20 below 0. And same thing for 40, it's the equal distance, it's 2 notches. And then down here 40 is 2 notches, but look how they're going in opposite directions. So like I was saying earlier, just remember that each positive number has its counterpart in negative, meaning its opposite number. And this brings me to my next point, which is opposite numbers, right? So all an opposite number is, we'll just say we have 3 here. So the opposite of 3 is just going to be the number in the opposite direction that 3 is going in. So we see here 3 is this far, so that means 3 is going to be this far. And imagine these are the same distances. They're not perfect, but so as you can imagine, negative, when you see it in front of a number, basically just means, we'll put an equal sign, basically just means opposite. It's basically just going to mean opposite, right? So we have, we can say we have some arbitrary number, right? We just have n, some number n, and we want to know the opposite of n, and n could be, 1, 10, or 5 billion. It could be any number. We want to know the opposite of n. So the opposite of n, and this is the general case for every number. N just stands for any number. The opposite of n is equal to the negative of n. So we can see we move this far, so we're going to move the same distance, and just imagine these are the same distances. We move -n. And that brings us to a new question, and I'll draw another number line. So we have some negative number. Actually, I'll give us actual number this time. So we have -8, right? This is -8. What is going to be the opposite of -8, right? The negative of -8. Well, this is saying we have -8 here, and we want to know the 8. We want to know how far 8 is in the opposite direction. Well, the opposite direction of -8 is just going to be +8. So we can see we move this far this time. So let's move in the opposite direction in the same distance. So this is just going to be positive 8. So when we see this, the negative of a negative, this is just going to be a positive. So we can write plus 8. Plus 8, this is just going to be positive 8. So this is true for all numbers, right? We have opposite of, we'll say some number a, this is just going to be positive, or sorry, we have the opposite of some positive number a, and I'll write this in parentheses, the opposite of some positive number a, this is just going to be equal to the negative of a, or negative a. And then we have the negative of negative a, this is just going to equal positive a, because we're just looking at the opposite direction. So here a started out positive, and then the opposite is going to be the same direction, negative. And here a started out negative, and then we're going to go in the opposite direction, the same distance. So now it's going to be positive, sorry. Now a is going to be positive. And we are done.